So the Rebbe was discussing over here that the hamshoche that comes down by Matan Torah from the level of Anoichi, the level of Anoichi is such a high level, it's not been uh, even framed by no letter, by no point, Anoichi. And for it to come down the level of Anoichi, we had the preparation of Yitzias Mitzrayim and the Sfiras Ha'emer, and we need a Seder everywhere. But then uh, the Rebbe is going to explain now the pasuk that it says, "Koil doidi," the voice of my doidi. So in this case, the voice of my doidi, my beloved Hashem, which is Anoichi. The voice of my doidi of Anoichi is medalig al hahorim mekapitz al hagavois. It jumps over, skips over the mountains, and it jumps on the hills. It jumps on the mountains, skips on the hills. This is the level of the Anoichi, which comes down in the way of passing over and jumping over al the Gavois, as the Rebbe will explain. The Rebbe will explain that when you jump or you pass over, whether it's with one foot or with both feet, the difference between medalik to skip means one foot is on the ground and the other one goes over, and mekapitz means you're jumping with both feet, but it's all the feet, which means the lowest level, the feet of the upper level is that jumps over that comes down to the lower level. Let's look inside. V'zeu mashikosu. This is what the pasuk says. Koil doidi goimer. So the voice of my doidi, which is the voice, my beloved of Hashem, is medalig al hahorim mekapetz al hagavois. It skips over the mountains and it jumps on the hilltops. Koil doidi, when we say the voice of doidi, koi al bechinas kolo de lo ishtamo. That's the voice, a level of a voice, a bechinas kolo that is not heard. That's the level of this koil, the level of koil doidi. The level of koil doidi, the level of anoichi, this coil is called a coil de lo yishtame because Bechlal we have two voices, two coils. And the pasuk says by Yaakov, it says that Yitzchak says HaKoil Koil Yaakov. Dihine ksiv HaKoil Koil Yaakov. When Yitzchak was saying, he's saying the voice is the voice of Yaakov. So one of the words coil is missing a vav. So it's HaKoil, coil, one with a vav, one without a vav. Koil chaser vav, v'koil moli vav. One lacking a vav and one filled with a vav. These are two different levels of koil. The one that is lacking the vav, that means that it's higher than ishtalshlus. That's the kolo de lo yishtama. That is the voice that is not heard. That is be'etzem in a level of hella. Shebeis bechinas elu. These two levels, Heim Kolo di Ishtamo, V'Kolo de lo Ishtamo. They are the voice that is heard and also the voice that is not heard. Kolo di Ishtamo, the heard voice, Hu HaKoil HaNimshach Mahaseichel Oy HaMiyamidus. That's a voice that is heard. That is when the voice comes, it draws, it extends from the seichel or the emotion, meaning it is either an extension that comes born out of the intellect or born out of the midos. So that's a coil. Coil means hamshocha. Sound is hamshocha. What is nimshach from either the intellect or the emotion, or mehaseichel k'moshe mizgala ide amidus, either directly from the seichel, directly from midas, or from the seichel as it's revealed through the midas. These are all voices that are heard. Those are hamshochas that are heard, meaning they're bihishtalshalus. They come from the seichel and midas. V'koil zeh hu kolo the posik. As we'll see in a minute, by Matan Torah it says the coil never stopped. But over here, this coil, a coil that is based on seichel and midas, is a voice who kolo the posik. That's a voice that stops because since it is based on intellect and emotion, which are defined and limited, and therefore the revelation, the hamshoch, is limited also. The ma'achar shein yonehu gilui haseichel ve'hamidoi, since the idea of this coil is the revelation of seichel and midas, sheheim medudim umugbolim, they are measured and limited. The seichel and midas are limited and measured, and therefore what is nimshach. Lochein kishemistaimim hadvorim shenimshachim umizgalim al yodei. When the matters finish, those that were extended and revealed through the seichel and the midas, when the measured and limited revelation ends, that nifsik b'mei legam hakoil, so there is also no hamshocha. That is kolo di ishtamo, kolo de posik. It's a herd and it stops. Mashe'ei came kolo de lo ishtamo, as opposed to the voice that is not heard, who koil shalamaylo mahaseichel. That is a voice amshocha which is higher than seichel. The kolo di ishtamo comes from seichel. Kolo de lo ishtamo, that comes from higher than seichel. What does it mean by a person when we're talking about avodas Hashem? It's whether the avodas Hashem is limited, your meditation reflection is based on intellect and emotion, or it's higher than seichel. Sheinyonei ba'avodas ha'adam hu. What is the idea of a voice that is not heard? Is sakas halev shalamaylo mitam vadas. That is the screaming out of the heart, which is higher than reason and knowledge. That's the idea of a kolo de lo yishtame by the human being. What does it mean, lo yishtame, when we talk about above? We talk about in the level, the spiritual levels, ulamaylo, and above. What is that level when we talk about the kolo de lo yishtame? Hu inyan hamshochas bechinas etzem ha'ir. That's the idea when we draw down the level of the essence of the light, shemitzad atzmoi hu lamayla megeder gilui, which on his own is higher than being defined in revelation. It cannot be revealed. It's a level which is beyond revelation. V'kol zeh hu kolo deloi posik, and this hamshocha is hamshocha that doesn't stop. Lefi she'ein shayich boy hagbola v'hefsek klal, because it doesn't apply to this coil a limitation, interruption at all. It is nimshach in a way of higher than any limitation and interruption. It's a coil de lo yosef. V'zehu sheba coil de matan Torah. That's why by the coil of matan Torah ksiv koil godel v'lo Yosef. It was a large, big voice that didn't stop v'lo Yosef. Ki hagilu the matan Torah, because the revelation matan Torah hu hamshochas ha'etzem shelemayla megeder gilui. That is bringing down the etzem, which is higher than the level of gilui. That is the hamshochet that took place by Matan Torah, is the etzem shelemayla megeder gilui. Kola delay posik, a voice that did not stop. So this is the anoichi, the koil doidi. But furthermore, shekivon shakoil atzmai hu kolod loy posik, since the hamshocha itself is a hamshocha, is a koil that doesn't stop, meaning it's unlimited, it's not limited. She'ein shayich boy hefsek v'shinui, that does not apply to it. There is no interruption. There's no change. So that's why in Torah we have never a change, because that was revealed by Matan Torah, the higher level, and in that level of oir, in the etzem ha'oir, there's no interruption. Torah stays eternal. L'chein gam ha'inyonim shenimshechu al yodei. Therefore, also the matters that were drawn down through this coil, this kolo de lo ishtama, the kol godel, the hainu ha-Torah shenitna b'kol zeh. That is the Torah that was given with this voice, Anoichi Hashem Elokecha, with this voice. So the Torah that was given with the voice of Anoichi Hashem Elokecha, ein shayich bo shinui chas v'sholom. It doesn't fit, it doesn't apply, there's no change there. Shezeu sha'Torah loy tiyeh muchlefes la'olam. This is what it means, that the Torah will not ever be changed, because it's from higher than Hishtalshlus. It's not by any limitations. So the Torah loy tiyeh muchlefes la'olam will never be changed. So now, okay, so this again emphasizes the level, the coil, the level of Anoichi, where Matan Torah comes from, the Hamshocha comes from there. But yet, from there, it's medalig or mekapetz, that it comes through the level of regel to the being nimshach. V'hinei, af shekoil zehu hamshocha shelemaylo megeder hishtalshelus, even though this coil is coming from a place which is higher than the ishtalshlus, ulamaylo megeder gilui, and higher level of gilui, mikol mokem ksiv medalig goimer mekapetz. So it says it skips over and it jumps over. Shehadilug hu v'kfitzo hu beraglaim, that the jumping, the passing over and the jumping is with the feet. The feet are the ones that are mamshich over the harim and the gavois, the hilltops and the mountains, it comes through the feet. As he started saying before, that there is a seder even in Lamaila of Ishtalshalus, that it comes through the lowest level, through the level of the feet of the higher madrega, for it to come down to the lower madrega. Why? Shadiluk v'hakvitza hu beraglayim. This passing over and jumping is with the feet. V'shekol hamshocha hu aidei b'chinas regel. Because every time that we bring down, that comes through the level of regel, which is bechina tachtoina, that's the lower level, that's the way it extends further. V'hainu, what we're saying here is that even when we're talking about a level which is higher than Ishtalshulus, over there too, it comes through the level of regel, through the lowest of level. A level of higher than Ishtalshulus doesn't come down as it is from the highest level. It comes down through regel. It goes through the process to come down. V'hainu, and that is sheklal zeh. this rule, shekol hamshocha hi al yidei b'chinas regel, that every hamshocha comes through the level of regel, meaning the lowest of the level. Einoi rak behahamshochas shebeseder hishtalshlus. It does not just apply when you draw down something which is in hishtalshlus. We know by hishtalshlus, it always goes that the lower level of the lower part of the upper level becomes the higher part of the lower level. So that we're saying that's the normal way by hishtalshlus. He's trying to say even higher than hishtalshlus, it works that way. Normally, that we say by hishtalshlus that the pnimius shebe'elye nase makif letachten, that the pnimius of the higher level becomes the makif for the lower level. So, or in these words, unehi shebe'elyon, nehi netzachod yisoid, those are the lowest part. Those are the chitzonius, the nehi of the upper level. Shebe elyon nasin moichin letachten. They become the intellect for the lower level. The lowest of the higher level becomes the highest of the lower level. This is not only by shtalshlus, Elokeinu gam behamshoches shelamayla mishtalshlus. The same thing is true what comes down from higher than ishtalshlus, that it comes also through the level of regel. Ukemoi, for example, hahamshocha shemibechinas atik, the level that comes from the level, what comes down from the level of atik, from keser, which is higher than ishtalshlus, shehirak me'ois tov. That is only from the letter tov. Tov is the last letter of the aleph base. So that's the level of atik that comes down. That means that it's the lowest of the highest level that comes down. V'chein gam ha'hamshocha ha'oir shekoidem ha'tzimtzum. Also the hamshocha that comes from the light that was before the tzimtzum, you don't get the full light. Shirak mebechinas malchus shebemalchus. That's only the level of Malchus from before Tzimtzum that came down. But not the whole level. V'chein gam bebiz HaMashiach. That's why this has all to do with the level of regel, because the medalig and mekapetz is the regel, the hamshocha is the level of regel. And v'chein gam bebias HaMashiach kasiv. Also with the coming of Mashiach, it says, v'amdu raglov. His feet will stand, basically, because all that we will get, the gilu would be the level of raglayim, the lowest of the upper level. And here he says now there's two levels. There's either, they're both feet, but there's either the level of medalig, which is skipping, which is with one foot. Mekapetz means with both feet. Ubahamshocha zu atzmo yeshnom beis bechines. In this hamshocha, there are two levels. There is medalik, skip over, umekapetz and jump. K'di Isa, the Mishnah says, medalik beragloi achas, umekapetz bebeis raglayim. Medalik skips means you use 1 foot, and mekapetz jump means 2 feet. What's the difference when a person skips with 1 foot or jumps? Vahefresh b'neim, the difference between them. Shekasher medalig beragalai achas. When a person skips with 1 foot, so you raise 1 foot to jump over, but the other foot is still on the ground. Hare levad zois. So besides the fact, shaguf nishar b'mekoymei, the body still stays in its place. You're just lifting your leg. And the entire hamshoch is only the regel alone. So you have only regel going there because your whole body wasn't raised when you jumped. It's just with one foot, so your body stays in the place. But in the gam b'bchinas regel atzmai, but even as far as the regel, you're only getting one regel. Har ragla achas ala oretz. One foot is still on the ground. So the hamshoche is only 1 foot hamshoche. Umashenim shechurak regel achas bilvad. What extends is only 1 foot. As opposed to when he jumps with both feet. So when he's jumping with 2 feet, it still comes through the feet. The feet are jumping. But yet, nevertheless, but the feet, when you jumped, your entire body moved, was moved. That it was extended with all his being. So the advantage of jumping over skipping is twofold. First of all, over there, as far as feet go, over here you have still 1 foot on the ground. So you're only getting a hamshocha basically with 1 foot. But number two, when you're skipping, your body is still stuck to the ground. It never moved. But when you jump the whole body, which means represents the hamshocha of the whole atzmusa. So this is all the way it comes down from the Koil God. Gimel. To explain the difference between these two ideas of skipping and jumping, even though they are both, you're bringing them down from higher than Ishtalshlus. So both of them come from higher. It's both coming from the Kolo, the Lo Yishtama, but there is a difference how they come down, Medaliga Mekapitz. You and Alpia Yadua will understanding based on about what's known. Shagam b'makif shelemaylo mihishtalshelus yeshnom beis bechinas. Also, when we talk about the makif, the surrounding light, which is higher above hishtalshelus, it's above the orderly evolution. It is in a way of a makif. Yeshnom beis bechinas. There are two levels in makif. There is makif hakorev, or makif harochik. There is a surrounding which is close to what it surrounds. A makif harochik, and the surrounding that is from a distance. Makif hakorev, when surrounding which is close, hainu sheyesh lo shaychus el hapnimi. That means there is a connection to the inner what he is surrounding. Dagam shehu makif, even though he surrounds it, mikol makom yesh lo shaychus el hapnimi, but still he has a connection to the inner. It's not only that they have a connection, the makif with the pnimi, when we talk about a makif hakorev, even more, shebehelem koilel hamakif as hapnimi, that in a hidden, obscure way, the makif includes the pnimi. And later on, when the pnimi extends from the makif, Hare hamakif shomer olav. The makif guards it, which means there's always a connection between the makif and the pnimi. There is called the makif hakorev. It includes it, and later on it protects it. It surrounds it. Masha'en kain makif harochik, as opposed to the distant makif. Eine Shaykh al-Apnimi Klal has no connection to the inner at all. It's separate. It's a makif, which is a rochik. What does this mean in service of man by the human, the nefesh adam? Biyur inyanem b'nefesh adam. To explain these two ideas of makif hakorev and makif harochik as it is in the soul of man. Hine Omru Razal, behold, sages of blessed memory said, Chamisha Shemesh Nikru Lo. There are five names that were called to the neshama. Nefesh Ruach Neshama, Chaya Yichida. The Nefesh Ruach Neshama, Nefesh Ruach Neshama Hem Pnimim. Those are the inner levels of the neshama. And the Chaya Yichida Hem Makifim. And Chaya Yichida are the surrounding levels of the neshama. Elo, but within Chaya Yichida, Sheyichida Hu Makif Harachi. Yichida is a makif from a distance. B'chaya Hu Makif HaKorev. And Chaya, the level of the neshama Chayiv that surrounds the pnimis of the nefesh ruach neshama, but it surrounds them from close by. B'hainu shahamakiv dechaya nirgash ba'koiches pnimiyim. And that means that while it is a makif, but the makif of chaya can be felt in the inner koiches. So while it's makif, but it's felt in the koiches pnim. K'moshe kosu, the pasuk says, the Gemara brings down that the pasuk says, Gabe Daniel, that Daniel, he saw a vision. He says, "V'ra'isi ani levadi es hamare." I was the only one, Daniel, I can see the vision. But v'hanoshim asher hoyu imi lo yirou es hamare. They could not see. After all of the preparation, he saw the godly vision, but only one who could see it was Daniel. The people that were with Daniel, they didn't see the matter. However, Aval Charoda Gedoyla Nafla Aleim, the pasuk says, but a tremendous fear descended upon them, fell on them. Umaksha b'Gemara, so the Gemara asks, B'chimar achar delei chozu, since they didn't see anything, my timer iva isu, why were they frightened? It says Charoda Gedoyla, if they didn't see anything, if only Daniel saw, why were they frightened from the vision that they didn't see? Umeshani, the Gemara answers, the reason that they fell, they were petrified, afal gav the inhu loichazu ma'zlayu chazu. Even though they themselves didn't see, but their mazel saw. V'hainu, so what's the difference between Daniel who saw and they saw it? Daniel saw it in an inner. They saw it in a makif from the level of chaya. You can see Kamesha Kosuf. I saw Aval Ha'anoshim. Asher imi lo yirou es hamare. They did not see it. It didn't come down a primis. Aval mikol makom hurgash b'hem a makif. But still, they can feel the makif. Shelachein charodo gedoyla. That's why a tremendous trembling fell upon them. It calls them over there Mazlayu Chazi. Why is he called that Makif, their Mazel? Mazel is Meloshin Noisel, that it flows. Because from the Mazel flows and drips to the inner koiches. Behine, okay, why don't we leave it over here? And
Okay.
we'll be mamshich next time. Okay?
Shabbos.